Welcome to Spiritual Changemakers, the podcast that guides you through tough times with practical tools and inspiring stories. I'm Andreea Tamas, your host and the Sacred Transitions Coach. Join us as we hear from spiritual changemakers who have connected with their higher power and overcame adversity. Whether you are navigating a difficult transition or seeking to deepen your spiritual practice, our podcast provides guidance to help you find magic in the change. Come on this journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and transformation with us and unlock your potential to become your best self. Welcome, beautiful souls, to a new solo podcast episode with your amazing guest, Andreea Tamas. And I'm so excited because today we have part 2 from Mindvalley University, where I am going to share with you how do you master the art of impactful speaking. And I'm going to share with you my biggest takeaways that I have learned from Mindvalley University from some of the best speakers out there, the best speakers, I would say, in the world, okay? And I'm not exaggerating. And why am I even doing this podcast about public speaking? And how is it that I have so many notes on this? And what happened, I'm going to share with you a little bit of a story. What happened is that the second week of Mindvalley University, I was accepted to be on stage and do a talk. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to prepare now. And I was nervous and I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. So what I have done in that week before I did my talk on how to adapt to unexpected change. And if you want to see that talk specifically, make sure you go on my YouTube channel and just check it out on my channel, and you're gonna see my full-on talk, which I believe it was amazing. So I have joined all the workshops, all the classes, everything I could have on public speaking, because I'm like, I need to soak in everything and take every golden nugget, everything I can right now to prepare myself the best for this talk. So this is how I came across to have so many notes and so many insights on public speaking. And not just that, but I have learned throughout my journey as an entrepreneur, as a coach, that according to Forbes, there is a report that it's saying that the fear of public speaking affects around 77% of individuals. And that's crazy. Like, some people are more afraid of public speaking than jumping out of an airplane, I would say. And despite this, really improving your public speaking skills, it can actually improve your career and your business if you are a business owner, with around 30%. Like, that's the percentage that you can add on if you improve your public speaking skills. Isn't that crazy? So now let's move on to some of the golden nuggets that I have learned at Mindvalley University in Tallinn, Estonia, from June 2023. So the first segment I want to move on into is the power of storytelling. In one of the talks that I have attended, I have learned a fact that really caught my attention. And that fact is that stories are at least 20% more remembered than facts. So no matter how much information you are going to give to your audience, to your people, to your tribe, to your community, they are actually going to remember much more with at least 20% the stories. And that's why it's important to incorporate stories within your talks, within your content, with whatever it is that you do. Incorporate stories, bring in your beautiful, amazing stories. And what the speakers also shared with us in that talk, it was the fact that there are 3 types
of stories that every speaker should use. And the first one is personal stories. So make sure when you do a talk that you are incorporating stories around your personal experience. The second type is professional stories. So if you're a business owner, you want to bring in stories that reflect your business journey. And the third one is client stories. This is where you want to share in testimonials and just client narratives in order to build trust with your audience. And I remember when I have started on my personal development journey, it was back in 2017 when I started on my growth journey, to call it out like that. And eventually I have discovered Mindvalley in 2018, I believe. And one of the first quests that I have done, it was from Lisa Nichols, and it was called Speak and Inspire. And oh my God, at that time, for me, that quest, it was transformative because I have challenged myself to do my first ever live. Like I was doing the live videos within the group. Then I challenged myself to do the first talk. And I remember when I went into the restaurant that I was working, and the owner allowed me to use the restaurant because it was closed on Sundays or on Mondays, something like that. And I was using that a small room there, and I had, I think, four of my very good friends and my partner at the time. They all came, and then I had here my phone next to me where I had some of my friends that I made from Speak and Inspire. So I did a hybrid event for the first time. And that was the first, like my first time ever when I spoke in public. And I remember that morning as I was preparing for the talk, that my belly was going. So I was going to the restroom a lot, and I was so nervous that I was barely able to speak. And I was telling my partner, I'm not sure I can do this. I'm so nervous. I will be so bad. I will be so terrible. So I was having all these fears and like anxiety around it. And then I went ahead with it. I did it. I did my first ever talk, and it was about you are enough. And guess why I have chosen that topic? Because of course, you guessed it, I was not feeling good enough. So I spoke about what I was experiencing in that moment. And I also remember thinking that, oh my God, I don't think I have ever felt as nervous in my life with anything else. And Lisa taught us in that course that if there is something that you are so afraid of, that means there is something bigger for you there. So I took that on and I put it on to me, and I'm like, okay, that this might mean that speaking it's for me. So this is how I went on the path at the beginning. I was like, I want to become a speaker. So I eventually joined a certification from John Maxwell, if you ever heard about him, on how to learn how to become a speaker, trainer, or coach. So you had one of these paths that you choose. So of course I joined that course because I wanted to learn more about how to become a professional speaker. But then this coaching that I've never heard about was like, keep nudging to me, keep nudging to me. And eventually I started learning about it, and I was like mind blown on how impactful it is, how transformational it is. And I was like, wow, I want to bring this to the world. So I've started on the coaching path to learn it for myself, to learn how to lead myself, how to get myself out of my limiting beliefs, my mental blocks. And eventually I realized that's part of my purpose here on earth. So I've put like speaking on the side. I'm like, okay, I'm focusing right now on coaching. And now years after that I have been in this beautiful journey, I realized that it's actually a blend of the two. It's the blend of coaching and speaking. And I absolutely love speaking, and probably you can pick that up, and you can pick it up in my energy, and you can see my talk from Mindvalley University as well. I love speaking, and when I stepped on that stage at Mindvalley, it was like such a deep process beforehand. Like the whole week I was nervous and emotional and all of it, because I knew I'm going to share my story. So it was a very healing process for me to get there. But once I stepped on that stage, probably after 2 minutes, I was like owning the stage. I was like, wow, I am born to be on stage. And that was the feeling that I got. And that's why right now I'm sharing with you these tips about speaking, because even if you are so afraid, as I was and I still am, but the reminder is that courage is doing it despite the fear. That's what courage is. So even if you are afraid of public speaking, I do believe it's such a big catalyst that it can propel your career and your development as a human forward. Even if maybe you are in a job right now and you don't have a business, I still believe it can help you a lot. And I hope my story, it inspired you to see that we all start at a point where we believe it's not possible, where we believe we are not good, but it's just a skill that if you learn it and practice it, I promise you that you will become not just good, but you will become great. So that's the first point with the power of storytelling. And as you see, I have brought in some of my story as well. Then the second segment I want to bring on here is, how do you prepare and how do you deliver a talk like a pro? And I recall here some of the words of one of my favorite speakers, Eric Edmondson, that is also going to be a guest on my podcast. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait to have him on. And he shared that the inspiring notion that you are just one talk away from your life changing. And what that means, it means that every single time when you do a talk somewhere, when you show up and do a talk, just that very one talk can change your life forever. And how that can happen, maybe it's someone in the audience that was so inspired and so in love by your story, by the way you have shared, that is going to give you such an opportunity, maybe to speak at their company, to work within their company, do some trainings with their company, whatever it is, get more speaking opportunities. But it's important to remember that every single time when you do a talk, to bring this into your awareness, into your field, into your presence, and be like, I'm just one talk away right now for my life to be fully changed forever. And I have goosebumps saying this because I truly believe it. And it's so important when you go and do a talk to really remember, what is your mission? What is your vision? Why do you do this? Why do you even want to speak on stage? Why do you want to share your story, your message? So it's important to remember that. And some of the things that is going to help you to prepare yourself when you go on stage, first and foremost, is to remember to breathe. So right now, if you are listening to this, just stop whatever it is that you are doing and just take a big breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And breathe. Because what happens when we are nervous, And I would say it's almost inevitable to get nervous, especially at the beginning of your journey. We forget to breathe and we speak very fast, and then we lose our audience. So do not forget to use your breath while you are on stage and while you're sharing your beautiful and amazing story and mission. And one quote that struck for me that Eric shared was that when your emotions are high, your intelligence goes down. So through breathing, what you're actually doing, you are calming your nervous system so you can tap into your intelligence and your intuition. Because I do believe it is a combination of the two, even when you do your talk, that you're gonna use your preparation that you have done, but it's also important to tap into your audience's energy, to feel your audience. And maybe you're gonna have to pivot, you might have to change some things, to add in, take out some things, but feel into the flow and into the energy of your audience. And I believe this is how you get to deliver on an amazing talk. Then how do you actually engage with your audience? This is the next segment. How do you engage with your audience? And it's very important to remember that when you are on stage, in order to create a connection with your audience, it's like an art. It's an art. And as I have learned, start with an icebreaker. I don't know, say a joke, bring out the elephant in the room. I remember being on one of the talks around courses, and the guy started his talk with talking about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room was actually AI, Chat GPT. And he said something around, okay, I know maybe you are asking yourself, why do I still need this course if I can use ChatGPT to help me create a course? So this is how he brought in and he put on from the beginning, like the objection that people might have around his talk. So this is what it means to bring in an icebreaker. And what is very important when you are on stage is your tone. Your tone is very important. And the thing is that you want to speak so much louder than you normally do. When you meet with a friend, with a family member, and so on, you want to speak louder. You want to bring that power and bring that energy on. So that's another thing you want to do. And then ask yourself, can I say some jokes? Can I learn some jokes and say it? Because actually telling jokes requires risks. I know, because you might think, I know I tell myself so many times, I'm just not good at telling jokes. I'm just not good at that. But the truth is that, again, telling jokes, it's a skill like anything else. Yes, some people are more natural at it, like anything else. But if you're not a natural like me, then you can learn it. You can learn it. So maybe, what do you say, guys? Maybe we can learn it together. Yeah. And I also have learned that is very important when you want to engage the audience to ask questions. Ask them questions after you share a point, after you share a story. Really make them ponder, make them ask themselves how that can apply to them. So that's another way that you can engage the audience. Another point that you can bring in is to have your audience repeat a certain word after you. Let's say you speak on, for example, for me, 3 tips on how to adapt to unexpected change. So the first one is that change is inevitable. So what I would do when I'm on stage, I would share, okay, the first point I'm covering with you guys is that change is inevitable. And then I will have them repeat that. I'll be like, change is what? And they will say inevitable. And maybe I'm gonna do it again. Change is what? Inevitable. So you wanna make them repeat, because that makes them be more engaged, more present, and they will also remember better, because repetition is the mother of learning. Yes, so these are some ways that you can engage your audience. The next segment I want to bring on is, how do you craft an impactful talk? And this is something I have learned at Eric's talk. And I love the fact that he said, okay, guys, you never, ever practice your speech word by word. Because what happens when you practice your speech word by word, you are so much in your mind that you are trying to bring on the words like that you have learned. And that also takes me back to like my exams from university, when I was like learning word by word something just to pass an exam. And this is how it would feel if you practice your talk as well. So his whole idea is, do not practice word by word, but what you want to do instead, it's actually create a mind map. And what does that mean? Of course, it all depends on how much time you have for your talk. But let's say for my talk at Mindvalley University, I had 20 minutes. So this is exactly what I have done. I have prepared a mind map. So I did an icebreaker. Then I have 3 points for my talk. So for each point, I have added a story that relates to the point. Because you remember what I was telling you at the beginning, that people are going to remember much, like at least 20% more if you integrate story and you don't just give them facts. So you have your icebreaker, you have your points, depending on how long your talk is, but I would recommend not having more than 3 points. And then for each point, you can have different stories that tie to each point. Or what I have done, I had my big story that I took it from one point to another. And then you have your closing. And it's good in your closing to actually end up with a question for your audience to think about, to take with them. I hope this makes sense with the mind map. And this is what you want to practice. Yes, you want to practice your mind map, so you know exactly what are your points that you're going to talk about, and then what are your stories that you are going to share. And I also recommend here having more than one story that you can bring into the point. And you have to remember that when you're crafting your talk, it's like you are taking your journey on your audience on a journey. This is what's happening. So just imagine yourself when you are creating that mind map. What is the journey that you're taking your audience on? And at the closing, if you have any time left, I really encourage you to do some Q&A, where you are going to answer questions that your audience might have about the subject that you have shared with them. And one of the last segments I really want to share with you is, how do we master the stage presence? And this is where I want to encourage you, even before you step onto the stage, is to create one of your power moves. And just go on YouTube and search Tony Robbins power move, and you are going to learn how to create a power move. And how do you want to feel, to anchor some of the feelings that you want to have when you step onto that stage. So what you are doing, you are actually priming yourself to show up and be in a certain state. And yes, that is in your control. And if you want to learn more about, make sure you are checking the show notes where I have my free gift to you, 3 steps on how to activate your personal power. And over there, I'm gonna teach you about this as well, how to create a power move and how to be in control of your emotional state. So this is one thing you can do to master your stage presence. The next thing you want to do is very important to remind yourself to smile. Because smiling, it gives people an energy of positivity. Yes, and it makes you feel like more relaxed, feel that, okay, I got this, I can do this, I am rocking this stage. The third tip I want to share here on how to rock your stage that I have learned is to keep your hands above your belly button. While you're sharing and you're moving on stage, make sure you keep your hands above belly button. So, hands above belly button, and also engage with your hands. Make sure you move your body and just be active on stage. I think it's boring when you see a speaker that is just in one place sitting there and just sharing like a lecture like school. No, you want to be playful and have fun. I think it's so important to remind yourself when you do this that you chose to do it. And because you freaking chose to do this, then have fun. Play with it. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. And I promise you this. And I would love for you to keep me posted. Send me a DM on Instagram at I am Andreea Tamas with double E for Andrea. And let me know, where are you at on your speaking journey? Have you started? Have you been doing it for a while? Where are you at? Have you done any in-person speakings? What are your fears about it? And lastly, please let me know, what are you going to use from this podcast episode in your future talks? Because it's so important. I know not everything is going to resonate with you, but it's very important to take out what did resonate with you, what stuck out for you, and implement it and use it in your talks. And as a recap for our golden nuggets, I would say some of my biggest takeaways, it was make sure you create a mind map, because what it gave me, for example, when I spoke at Mindvalley University, it gave me some sort of structure, but also freedom and flow to be playful on stage. So I would say that's one of my favorites. And as I wrap up, I want to leave you with this profound thought that was shared by Eric, that you are just one talk away from your life to be changed forever and ever. So remember that I believe in you and you can do this, and you can enhance and use public speaking to accelerate your career and your business, because remember, it improves it and it grows it with at least 30%. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you taking the time that Like I know right now we just spent some time together, and this is how I want you to imagine that we just had a chat about public speaking, and we just spend some time together. And I really value you. I value your time so much. And do not forget, if you want to learn how to be more in control of your emotions, check my notes where you can access my free gift for you on 3 steps how to activate your personal power. And if you want to see me on stage, make sure you check my YouTube channel where I have there my full talk from Mindvalley University. Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. And I believe in you so much. I believe in you beyond measures. And I know anything and everything is possible. And I hope you feel this through my share, through my inspiration, through my energy. And I cannot wait to come back with a new episode. Stay tuned. Until next time. Mwah.
Thanks for tuning in to Spiritual Changemakers podcast. To stay connected and help us reach more people like you, please subscribe, follow, and leave a comment. Join our community of spiritual changemakers on social media to connect with like-minded individuals and continue the conversation. Remember, the power to create positive change is within you. Keep showing up as your best self, and let's keep the magic of change alive. Until next time.